Every time I speak in a church context, I wind up with someone asking me this question. Why is the God of the Old Testament so different from the God of the New? Why does the God of the Old Testament seem angry all the time and judgmental and wiping out vast swaths of humanity? Whereas the God of the New Testament is Jesus, and he embraces and loves and allows the lepers to be touched and the woman with the issue of blood to draw near. So the first answer I offer to that is, if you read the entire Old Testament and you read the entire New Testament, you would find out that A, they are the same God. We are Trinitarians. But you would also find out that the God of the Old Testament is just as consumed with grace and forgiveness and second chances as is the God of the New. And you would find out that the God of the New Testament is just as focused on the judgment that brings deliverance as is the God of the Old. We as Americans in particular, when we think about judgment, all we think about is law and punishment. We tend to forget that the oppressed are delivered by judgment. That if you happen to be in the Ukraine right this moment, that there would be no better possible news than a bigger army marching down Main Street, because they need the oppressor thrown off. And so when we read the New Testament, when we get to the end of the story, we read about a rider on a white horse who splits open the skies with a massive heavenly yet earthly army riding behind him, and his goal is to conquer this fallen planet and to cut down every man, woman, and child who refuses allegiance to him and is thereby a source of oppression and sin and crime against the oppressed. So your New Testament has a lot of judgment in it, and your Old Testament has a lot of grace in it. Can I remind you that when Adam and Eve refused the gift of Eden, that God does not strike them dead, and he should have. Instead, God looks into the face of Adam and Eve, and he sees your face, and he sees mine, and he can't let them go. By the time the children of Israel are called out of Egypt, they have been 400 years in slavery. When he delivers them, he doesn't ask anything from them. There are no rules, there are no laws. There's just walk through this open door with me, and I will give you a future and a hope. It's not until they arrive at Sinai that there are actual rules and regulations. And those rules and regulations are designed to protect the relationship, not to forge it. And when we move into the monarchy, how many times do the people of Israel find themselves at the temples of Baal, worshiping Asherah, who, by the way, is a sex goddess? How many times are children offered up to idols? How many crimes are committed against the widow and the orphan? And how does God respond? He sends Isaiah and Jeremiah and Micah and Nahum and Obadiah and Hosea and Amos. And over again, he says, just turn, please. Let me heal you. Let me bring you home. You know that this story progresses all the way to an exile, both for the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And what is God's answer to, I'm so done here? His answer is to give them one more shot. And he brings them home. And the Psalms tell us that they were like those who dreamed when they realized that they could be forgiven and brought home and restored yet again. And do they mess it up again? Yes. Do they manage to establish a level of religiosity that is asking the question, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? The type of Pharisaicism that is more interested in keeping the law than feeding the orphan? Yes. And how does God respond, the God of the Old Testament? The Word became flesh, and he tabernacled among us. And when he tabernacled among us, the leper and the unclean and the sinner and the prostitute we're able to walk right up and hear the word of life. The God of the Old Testament might seem foreign and different, but as you get to know him, you will realize that the God of the Old Testament, the God of the New Testament, is this impossible, infinite mixture of judgment and grace. And redemption stands right in the middle.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I'm J.D. Walt and I work for Seedbed, and our mission is to gather, connect, resource, and commission the people of God to sow for a great awakening. We would love for you to join us. If your heart is as our heart, hey, we'd love for you to subscribe to this video, like it, share it with others. Thank you so much.